Building our, this is our build log. Initially I had gotten some error, I don't know why, but these are the layers that have been generated from the build. So we have been able to build successfully, and if you check your image, maybe you can say docker image ls to list our images. So you see that I have PostGIS and I have these health facilities Django image, and these are the sizes. And if you are not the command line kind of person, you can also check these in our images. So this is what we have. And so the next step will be, let's now start our services. So we are going to do a Docker Compose app. Yeah, we have some error somewhere. Yeah, it is saying set the allowed host environment variable. And this is being generated from the Django container. For the Postgres, definitely it will ignore these because I had set, remember I had set a volume to map to the initialization script. Yeah. So we have an issue. Key error is resulting to none. And in the allowed hosts. So let me see what is there. So since I've mapped this folder to the container, so whenever I make any changes, they're going to be reflected inside the allowed hosts. Okay. So let's see the allowed hosts. We have an issue in the allowed hosts. env allowed hosts.split. Yeah, I know the problem. I've seen it. So if you look at my allowed hosts, we have an issue here. It's allowed hosts, and this one should stay like that. Yeah, so it has exited, of course, with an error. So I think I may have to shut down and start up. One thing that I also forgot to do, and I think I need to explain this. You remember that I did a mapping for this. So we have this directory initdb that is mapped to this initdb.d. So I do not have that directory. So of course, it's going to be ignored, but I think it's only wise that we create it. And I'll explain what I'm adding here. So initdb. Oh, it's saying that it already exists. Okay. Actually, I think Docker has created it. No, I'm not sure, but probably we are the ones who created it. So let me just create a new file, and I can call it, maybe let me call it init.sh. So this is a shell script. Let me remove that folder because I think it indicates that it is Docker generated. So we have this, we are going to create it. Directory. Yeah, so inside these we are going to create that shell script init.sh. So this is a shell script that is going to be executed when you start it starts the database, or it starts the initial part when we start the database at the beginning, and it will only be run once. So in this case, I'm just going to copy it from my previous folder, and I'm going to explain what it is. Yeah, so this is what we have, and so this is a bash script. So we are exporting our Postgres password to refer to the specified Postgres password inside the .env or the environment variable. And then we have these the PSQL command, which uses the username, and we also say that it stops if there is an error. Username, and then we have the database name, which are specified in the .env file. Let's just confirm that we have Postgres user. Actually, we do not, but We have the Postgres user and Postgres DB. So in this case, I need to specify the Postgres user as an additional variable. And the next step will be, this one I was using it when I was creating a template database, but we do not need it. We also don't need this line. I was creating one for test purposes. So in this case, we need to connect to, so we need to create a user who will be called DB user, and they will be using DB password. All these are being fetched from the environment variable file. And then we will alter this user to have permissions to create a DB. And then we will create the database with the DB name. And, let me just remove this. We do not need the template. Then we're going to alter this database DB name owner to that, and then we'll grant all privileges on DB name to DB user. Let me remove this. There's a repetition here. And then we connect to the database user, and then this is like a test. So we are just creating a table called event with unique constraint, and then we are creating an index, and then we are doing a commit. So one of the reasons is that we need to create an extension for PostGIS because we are dealing with location-based data. So after creating the database, we need to add a connection string. So we will connect to the database, connect to DB name, as Postgres. So we'll connect to it as a Postgres user. Actually we're still running it as a Postgres user, and then inside it we are going to create an extension PostGIS. Because we cannot create this extension as a separate user. Of course you can if you set certain parameters in the Postgres, but that is it's a story for another day. It's a bit complicated, more complicated than what we have here. So the basic setup is you export the password, you connect or you run the PSQL shell, and then you create this user called DB user with the password. You alter the user by giving them create DB permissions, and then you create the database DB name. You connect to the database, create PostGIS extension, and then you grant all the privileges on this database to the data standard user, and then you alter the database owner to the standard user, and then you connect to the database and run. So if this script executes successfully, then we can be able to continue. Otherwise, if you do not, it's going to throw an error. And that's what we have referenced here. That's why we have this volume mapped to these directories. So let me just save all files. And now let me just go to the Docker. And if I have any containers, health facilities, I'm going to remove them. And then I'm also going to rebuild my let me check the volumes, because if I have these volumes, remember we had already created it, so we need to remove it so that we can recreate it afresh. So that's what I've done. The Docker desktop comes quite in handy. So let's see what we have. We are going to get when we run our Docker Compose app. So you can see this, it's saying that you are successfully connected to health facilities as this user. So these are it runs this script that creates the database. Yeah. So let's see what we have. So you see that we have even some notifications saying that we have 22 unapplied migrations. So let me just split these terminal. So I'm going to run docker compose exec. We have the name of the container. So it's Django for health facilities. Let me just copy it from here. And then let me just run it. Okay, we still have an issue. I think this has to do with Docker permissions. So since I have confirmed that it is running okay, instead of doing it in a new shell, let me just remove this. Let me rerun the terminal again. Let me confirm that I'm in the correct directory. So let me just shut down the containers. Yeah, so okay, so let me see what happens when I relog in. Let me run a compose down. So this one has to do with the permissions. Yeah. So we have shut down our containers. Let's start them again, but in a detached mode. A detached mode means that we are not going to see the output here, and it will release the terminal or the command line so that we can add other commands. So I'm going to run the docker.compose exec Django bash. Okay, I can check the containers that are running by Docker PS. So we have the image and the name. So we have Django for health facilities as a container. So let me add it to run as an interactive terminal. Yeah, I've actually not named this correctly. It should be health facilities. I can add bash. Okay, so let me just try that one more time. Docker compose exec. If it does not work, we are going to use Docker desktop to save on time. Yeah, so bash. What if I try shell? Yeah, so let me just get into the container using this one. Health facilities. Yeah, so let's collapse it. And open in terminal. Yeah, so we are inside the container. Just do an ls. We can check the working directory. So you see we are inside the container. So our goal is to migrate, update our migrations, and of course do what we are required to do. So let me just make some reference. Yeah, I still prefer to use the command line because in a server environment, highly likely you're not going to be using the Docker desktop. So let me run this. Run Django, and then we can add manage.py. Oh, there's a problem. Django, like that. Yeah, so it's going to run. Now we are running the python manage.py command. Yeah, so I expected this to happen. So this is how you can execute commands from our host operating system to that container. So I'm just going to specify migrate because I want to populate our database. And for some reason, it's a bit slower in Windows than in Linux for obvious reasons. Yeah, so you can see it has created the database, the schema successfully. And then you can also try and create a super user using the create super user command for Django. Yeah, so let's use GeoUser. You can call it GeoUser@email.com. We can also put in some password there. Okay, and then let's see. I normally like using this ss-ltn command to check ports that are running. So yeah, something is running on port 8000. So let's confirm something is running on port 8000. Yeah, and indeed something is running. Yeah. So let's populate our data. And so I'm going to enter into the shell for Django. Which is a Python shell inside the Django environment. Okay, so from data, import, we have this thing called load facilities underscore facilities. Let's see what load facilities has. We have import data. Yeah, so it is saving those objects. There are around, I think there's above 1000 records. So this is inserting into the database. So let's give it time to complete. So it has completed adding, the records are about 1440 records. So we'll exit, our business here is done. And let's just see what we have. So we refresh here. It should show those points. So these are what we have. So we have been able to containerize our application and run it. And I think we can also try and check the schema. Yeah, so all this is being now run from our container, our Docker container. So we have been able to Dockerize our application, containerize our application, and now it's running under Docker. So we're also going to create, I think finally the last thing is, instead of running these commands all the time manually, yeah, it would be nice to create a Makefile, which we are going to just do it here. So inside our Makefile, we are going to add, just close that, we are going to add the commands that we have here. Yeah, so I've just added these, some of these items, some of these things, and we are going to specify some of the commands. Yeah, so having set up our Makefile, we're just going to save it. We already saved it. So these are we have specified some wildcard information that checks for the environment file. And then we have some colors that we have added here. So these colors will be showing in the particular commands, like for this make build will be showing in blue, and the list follows. And then we have specified now the commands themselves. So we have build with no cache, starting the Django service as detached. We have shell if we want to get into the Django shell. Delete volumes, create super user, load facilities data, and the list continues. So just quickly, let's clear our screen, and we can actually start using it. Make stop Django. So you'll notice that this command is in red because I've specified it to be in red in the stop Django up here. We can also add, I think these have delete Django volumes. So let's use make delete Django volumes. So it has removed the volume. So I'm also going to remove the posts. No, I don't need to remove it. Let me just check using the docker volumes ls command. It should be docker. It should be volume. Yeah, so we do not have any volumes. So let me just also confirm this using the images. The containers. Okay, so we can now use the make command. So we can just run a make start. It's start Django in a detached mode. So this is what we have. Let's confirm that it is up and running. So you can see how fast it is. So it seems like it's not running. I don't know why. According to my container is that it is running. Oh yeah, it's running. I think it was taking some time. So yeah, so you see, I'm expecting this to happen because we have not populated the database with anything. Yeah, so you normally find these relation something does not exist. It means that that table does not exist. So we can just do a make migrate. You'll also notice that this is running in port 5432. Yeah, so we have created the tables. So now the tables exist, but they do not have any data. So this is what we are getting. Yeah, so unless you create data or something, this is what we have. And then let's now add our data. So make, I have specified load GIS data. Nothing to be done for load GIS data. I think the command may have a problem. Oh, it's load facilities data. So it's printing, remember it's printing this output because I had specified in the load facilities to verbose, to print verbose information. Yeah, so let it do its thing. Yeah, so you can even print logs. You can print the logs interactively. This is the actual command, and this is what it prints out in just some information that it prints out in the command line. So currently it's running this load facility. So it has completed. So let's see what we have. So it should display those points for the facilities. While it's doing that, I think we can also check the logs. Make print logs interactive. This is the previous error that had shown in our logs, but it's now working. Let's see if this one has now shown our points. Yeah, so we have our points, which are these ones. And you can see the get requests. So you can also test these using Postman if you have it installed. I do not have it installed at the moment, but you can use it to run requests, get posts and put and all those other requests. So this summarizes our Dockerization or our containerization of this Django project. And we shall be looking at how we can probably work with our front end. We'll see how we can create an additional service, which will be a map showing our points. Yeah, and this will be a front end application. So if you find this video to have been of help, you can drop in a like. It will help me with the YouTube algorithm. You can also share with colleagues, share with friends, share with those people who are interested in building Django apps, GeoDjango apps. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching. Let's meet in the next one.